Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Melson Noche Wejo. Today I'll be doing a presentation on blockchain technology and land registry for Class CS 705, blockchain and cryptography. So today, this is my agenda, my outline. I'll be talking about introduction of how land registry, the challenges of land registry and the blockchain technology, how it is, what it really is about, and how it can help land registry, smart contract, which is one of the renewed things making a wave in most industries. Some of the case studies, the shortcomings of smart contracts that they're facing right now, and the conclusion and some of the references that I've used. So, for introduction, for me, the purpose of this presentation is just to talk about the analysis of potential benefits of blockchains, blockchain technology using smart contract and land registry. So because now land registration is not has a lot of over many fraudulent activities because things can either be forged, destroyed, replicated. It's just too much because it's a printed document, it's a piece of paper that can be done over and over and over. And this piece of paper, like I said earlier, it can be replicated, forged. They're just doing like a copy and paste thing, especially in third world countries like where I'm from, because I'm from Cameroon, Africa. Also some part of Asia they do it too. Even not just in those third world countries, even in Europe and in the U.S. There's a lot of fraud based on land registry. We've seen it's around the world. It's around the world because it's around the world. So some of the challenges that land registry facing right now is like I talked about earlier was forgery, where things can to be replicated. You know, Phones, like because I'm talking about from my personal experience, I wanted to buy a piece of land back home from Cameroon, Africa, in Central Africa, and I bought a land, but the land ended up being sold to five other people. So the land pretty much has six owners that we didn't know about. So until we found out, the man was not nowhere to be seen. We couldn't find him. Whenever we try to have a conversation with him, he was always talking about he's busy, and then it was a long process. I ended up losing the money because I was just like communication was horrible with me and the officials back home, and I felt like it was just too much for me, and it was too much for me and my family, and I was just like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it because eventually, with too much corruption back home, we're not going to see that money come out again. It will be really, really hard because all the connections that we made are all out of the country. But yeah, it's from forgery, it's also human error. With human error is, we're all humans. We're not robots, right? We make mistake. We tend to make mistake. So maybe sometimes you can make an error with the person's name, address, date of birth. That if those are errors that we can make, and once those errors are made, you pretty much have to redo the whole process all over again because if your name is written wrongly, technically you don't own that piece of land. Your date of birth is wrongly inputted. Technically you don't own that piece of land. So those are another challenge. And then also the wear and tears of the documents, because it's a piece of paper, which means they don't last more than a decade or 20. Even old manuscript that last, they were just pretty much going to conserved with the highest technology that was done at the time. But nowadays things are digitalized, so for a piece of paper, I don't think you be able to keep it that long. That and let's say 20 years, 30 years, or 40 years from now, they ask you for a deed of your land. I don't think you'll be able to find it intact the way it is. And also with paper documents, which you can only know who the current owner is, you can't kind of tell who owned the land before, like the history or anything as such. So it's just kind of vague. It's like, oh, there's a new one, and that's him right there. So when we talk about blockchain technology, first of all, what is a blockchain technology? Is just a distributed and decentralized ledger. It means there's no central server. There's no one that's like overseeing the thing, and that is really known for its immutability factor. I mean, which is just it's trustworthy and highly secure. As it's because of, with the help of miners, they're independent contributors to the technology. They use a lot of they use a big amount of computing powers in order to be able to keep to keep resistance against tampering, and fraudulent act. And also is encoded communications, with digital encryption with public keys, private keys, and secret keys now that only users have access to, as each block as transaction is linked to the previous. And it's also transparent, meaning, all the transaction that you've done, whatever the time, date, anything that you've done, is accessible to users. They're able to see when and where, how, so it's there for them to see. So how does blockchain technology help land registration? So with the inception of blockchain technology, smart contract, which is made, if you guys know about Ethereum, which is another cryptocurrency, that's what it's pretty much made out of. A smart contract that's made in the blockchain technology is what has been behind. It's pretty much the drive behind the land registration, because with a smart contract, it's pretty much a smart contract. What it is pretty much a traditional paper contract in a computer code that has a lot of specific conditions, and specific conditions that should be met between the buyer and the owner. With a smart contract, you don't need a. I mean, I'm not saying you don't need a third party. You might need a third party. Third party can be like maybe government. Say, okay, let's say you want to buy a piece of land. Let's say, in Texas, say, oh, government, we just want you to know this, so they can drop the contract once the specific conditions that the owner and the buyer wants are set. Then the transaction can happen. And, it makes our life easier, instead of waiting 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 months just to purchase that same piece of land. With a smart contract, it would take you maybe 1 or 2 weeks max. Maybe if too much, maybe 4 weeks, depending on, if they're haggling for prices and all that stuff. And it's pretty fast. It goes faster. All right, so it makes our life a bit easier. So with smart contracts, it has its own anatomy. In a smart contract, you just don't write it, and so you have to identify. Like I said earlier, specific conditions. Both parties, the users and the buyers and the owners, have to identify the agreement. They have to, agree on what they want first on the contract to be drawn up. They have to, once they agree, they agree in the scope, in the swap and transfer right. They agree that, okay, I want to sell this land, and the buyer says, I want to buy this land. Now they have to set condition. The condition can be, talk about money wise, anything, money wise, everything, any event. And the condition can be true. Let's say it's a will. A smart contract can also work as a will. So, let's say in case of a death or certain holidays, this and this. And then they have to, after that, the business logic that they have done has to be coded. It has to be coded, and it should be done, that's so that the arrangement will be automatically done once the condition that was set are actually met. Once they're met, the coding now is, the business logic will be coded. Once it's coded, now the encryption and blockchain technology kicks in, where they have the secure authentication and verification of messaging between parties related to the smart contract is only shown to them. Once that encryption is done, now with the iteration, everything is being executed and processed. Is everything, because remember, like I said earlier, smart blockchain technology. Blockchain is in a smart contract. Everything is written to a block. So and each blocks are linked to each other. So once the code is executed, the outcomes are memory analyzed and verified. All computers that we use, in the network, update their ledgers to make sure, to reflect the new state that, hey, this contract was completed and everything was done right, and it was done according to what conditions were set. Now we need to go on to a different contract. We need to go into a different block, because that block is already passed, and then everything that was done throughout the contract cannot be altered or changed. It will remain as it is, and everything should be done properly. should be done according to whatever was set, conditions were set. So, in terms of smart contract, there are some case studies that are found in certain part of the world, such as Sweden, Dubai, UAE, United Emirates, United Arab Emirates in Dubai, in the city of Dubai, is even India, that's commonly known as that's common in India, which is commonly known for me. India is known for its riches, because they have a lot of riches and not a lot of people see it because it's just portrayed. For me, India has a lot of riches because they have a lot of land, soil. Like it was a good trip that I went to on professor's wedding back in 2016. It was a nice trip. India for me is I believe in the next 10 years they can be top levels with other countries. You know, they can be up there. But yeah, there've been smart contract going on in Australia, Canada, Cromaway, which is a Sweden-based uh, Sweden-based technology company, partner with the government of Andhra Pradesh, which is in India, to build a blockchain power for land registration. Because I believe it was 2017 or 18 in India, about 1,700 to 1,800 people had lost, the land registration. You know what? They were defrauded from the land registration because they were either reforged and sold to other people. Just like according to the World Bank, only 30% of the land in the world are actually documented, and the 70% are not really documented. It's like, you just live there rent free. Someone can come and take over that spot that you in that land that you want. And also even in Africa, like I said earlier, with my experience, I also found out in Africa, out of the land that we have, only 10% are properly documented, and then the 90% in the rural areas are not even the people that are staying on that land. They're not really documented. It's just because of too much fraudulence and forgery. You don't even you can't even tell what's happening. But that's why I see India and they partner with Chromaway, which is a Sweden-based company for that for land registration because they want to eliminate some of the fraudulent and the human errors and fraud that have been going on with the land, over there with land, and they want to reduce the administrative burden of land on people because like I said, we're humans, we make mistakes, and mistakes are bound to happen. Also, recently in 2017-18, also the city of Dubai partnered with Consensus. So their purpose for the partnership is they actually uses a lot of smart contract because it was backed by Ethereum. So the whole purpose is to build the very first city fully powered by blockchain. I'm talking about from light. They even have a smart. They will have a blockchain university. Everything will be blockchain, pretty much. Smart. Your light bills, everything, electricity bill, like anything will be blockchain based, like base wise. They want that to have it done by 2021. So I don't know if it was it was able to be done because we're still in the midst of a pandemic. But I'll keep following this case study now just in case to see how it actually pans out. I actually want to see the end of this, and I want to meet it all the way. And also Sweden partnered with Chromeway in 2020, also with the purpose of making land ownership more transparent by putting records on the blockchain. Also, what Chromaway does, they do land and also do work in real estate. Because they want to reduce the amount of time it takes for a contract to be done. That's one of the goals, to reduce the amount of time that the contracts are done. So they can have people moving in faster in different places. And trying to get things done as much as possible in the fastest way. Which is for me is pretty cool, because I've seen. I just feel like I just hope this technology of this blockchain technology, if it were to grow and grow bigger, it can be brought to countries, to third world countries, like I said, I'm from Africa. We do have we do have technology, but we're kind of like light years ahead, light years behind some other countries, and also in Africa, especially from Cameroon. to other countries in Africa. We are really, really behind. I feel like, if it was this technology was to be brought, you know, it can actually make kind of reduce corruption because things can be altered when they say, oh, let me forge this thing and that. Once the contract is done, it can't be altered again and sealed and sealed and can't be touched anymore until the new owner wants to sell it to another person. And once so you can't be defrauded all the time. Like from my personal experience, it wasn't the best. So I'm just glad most of these kids, and it's not just these are not just the only case studies. We have a lot, in countries like Honduras, they're going into blockchain. Wales, they're going into that also. Even in the U.S., right? They're going into blockchain with smart contracts, because it's just it makes people's lives easier, and then you don't, like I said earlier, it can't be altered. So you can't come to me and be like, oh no, I didn't sell this land or this and that, because no, you have proof and everything. Transaction was done. You got your money. You can't come, you can't walk back on your contract because you approved of it and it was signed and then the deed was sent back to me now. Yeah. Those smart contracts is proven to work. Like I said, based on those case studies. They also have their own shortcomings, right? Because first of all, it's because of the amount of data, because of all the paper documents and everything. It's just way too much. And we know blockchain is you just do small amounts of data. That's one big, biggest challenges or shortcomings. The another thing is technology is still learning. It's still learning. I believe it will take time. That's why I talked about India. I feel like with India, they can be because they have so much land mass. They if they were to really really focus on this sector of blockchain. That's what I was saying. They can be like really one of the countries to get be one of the top countries in the world. Like from the top 5 countries, they can get in there also. Because I feel like they have the potential to do it based on this land registry. And also the status quo is it's like yeah, blockchain is good, but at the same time it has its own barrier because the thing is, will some government allow it? Because like I said again, because like I said again earlier, based on my experience, I'm from a country where they have a lot of corruption. Will government allow this new thing where that will kind of remove the corruption and the fraud away? Or, that means, if there's no fraud or corruption, they can't, defraud other people and make more money. That's another barrier, and also it's really hard to explain and talk about to someone that does not have the knowledge. I feel like most people need to get educated on this smart contract, or just blockchain technology in general. They have to be educated so they can know more about it. And then on the last one, we have to do it together. It's just like I said earlier with the government. If let's say you wanted to be, if this technology is to be implemented, the government from each country, like the government entity, have to work hand in hand with the owning bodies, because if we, let's say owner buyer want to do in the government, like, oh, we can't regulate that, they're always trying to find ways to make their own cut, and yeah, this is something we have to do together, we can do it and maybe introduce, government have to be behind this to like push it. And from my conclusion, the summary from what I found is blockchain technology, especially with smart contract, has a strong potential to support the digitalization of land administrative process. Its disruptive developments are not to be recognized or feared because it's just going to help one sector. It's not like saying we're kicking people out of work. No, it's you still do your own job. Your work is just the land registration office system in the office will still be there because the buyer and owner have to go through person that's through that department or entity as a third party instead of going through all these people of like lawyers and all that. It's just make it so much. It's still going to be there. And then the use of smart contract will optimize the government administrative action. As you have less human errors. With the smart contract, you have less human errors once the conditions are set. And everything. Less human errors means we have more and more people with actual documented lands and on rural lands, and not them knowing, oh, this land doesn't actually belong to them, but it's just there, and also blockchain technology and smart contract in general can effectively support the process of digitalization of governmental services, which is services which I'm pretty much seeing right now. I just hope we can get more and more out of it, and yeah, we can digitalize. Digitalization doesn't mean humans are out. It's just it makes our job, it makes our lives a little bit easier. It makes our lives easier, and we make sure to have less human errors. I'm not saying computers can't make errors or this can't be breached. At least it will help. Because when we humans, when we tend to get tired, especially during the day from work, we don't process the same way that we did earlier in the day. Because we just we're tired. We're human beings. And these are some of the references that I've used in order to make this presentation. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Thank you very much, and you guys have a wonderful evening. Bye.